sugar! Well, what happened?
Yeah, what happened? That's not a story. Huh? Oh, yes, well, there once was a wolf who was a big, bad wolf. Teacher, we want a story. What about the big bad wolf? What happened to him?
You can't just tell us one day there was a wolf who wanted to borrow some sugar.
And who was big and bad?
What did he do?
And why? And how? I see I can't fool you. You want me to tell you a story. A real story with a plot. A plot? Yes, a plot. P-L-O-T. A plot is what happens in a story. It is the sequence of events in a story. A story has a plot. That means that one thing leads to another. There are a few things you must learn about the plot of a story. Tell us!
And tell us a real story with, what do you call it?
A plot! Very well, then. In once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a big bad wolf with something he really, really wanted.
What was that?
He wanted to make his granny a birthday cake. The plot, or sequence of events, of the story begins with telling us that there is a main character who wants something or wants to do something. When the story lets us know about the character and what he or she wants, we call that the exposition, because we are exposed to it. The main character has a problem. A problem is also called a conflict because something or someone is keeping the main character from getting what he or she wants. For example, Cinderella can't go to the ball. Dorothy can't go back home to Kansas. The big bad wolf's conflict was that he was trying to make his granny a birthday cake, but he had a bad cold and he ran out of sugar. What did he do? Well, he went to his neighbor for help. He knocked on the door of a little pig who lived in a straw house down the road. He wanted to borrow a cup of sugar. The pig didn't want to share any of his sugar. Some people later said that the wolf got so mad he tore up the pig's home. But the wolf claims that his bad cold made him sneeze so hard he blew the house down. What happened to the pig? Well, he was killed because the house fell on him. The wolf found his dead body and ate him up. Oh no! Why did he do that? Children, remember that in a plot, when a character has a conflict or problem, he tries to do something about it. That moves the story forward. We call the events that happen because of the conflict the rising action. These events happen because of cause and effect. That means that one event causes the next event, which causes the next event, and so on. During the rising action part of the plot, the original problem becomes more and more complicated. Think about some examples of rising action from other stories we've talked about. Cinderella can't go to the ball, so her fairy godmother shows up and transforms her clothes and pumpkin. Dorothy wants to go home to Kansas, so she starts looking for the wizard and then meets the scarecrow, the tin man, the lion, and the witches. So, teacher, if the wolf's problem was that he had no sugar and then he tried to do something because of his problem, but he still didn't find any sugar, what did he do about it? To answer that, let's find out what happens next to the big bad wolf, shall we? After the wolf ate up the unfortunate little pig, he headed off in search of the pig's brother, who he thought would be more generous with his sugar. But the second little pig, who lived in a house made of sticks, didn't want to help the wolf either. People later said that the wolf got so angry he tore down the second pig's house. But the wolf says that his cold was catching up to him again and the house fell when he gave a great sneeze. The second little pig died under the rubble of his house. So the wolf ate him too.
But teacher, what's going to happen to the wolf when the problem just keeps getting worse and worse? Something's got to happen to change the way the story's going.
You are exactly right, children. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a complete story. We just have a bunch of problems with no end in sight. The events of the rising action lead to the climax of the story. The climax of the story is the turning point of the story. The main character makes a big decision that will affect how the story will end. The climax in the wolf story happens when he goes to the third pig's house. The third pig didn't let him in either. In fact, he insulted the wolf's granny. This enraged the wolf, who went crazy with his sneezing and tried to break in. But the third pig was smart. Instead of building his home out of straw or sticks, he had built his home out of bricks.
All I needed was some sugar. How dare you make fun of my granny?
What happens after the climax of the story? What happened to the wolf? Well, as he was having a fit at the door of the third pig's house, the pig called the police, who came and arrested the wolf. They had found out about what happened to the other two pigs. And that leads us to the last two parts of the plot. The events that happen because of the climax are the following action. They quickly lead to the solving of the problem. And the resolution happens at the end of the story when we find out how the problem was solved and what finally happens to the main character. For the wolf, the resolution was to be sentenced for murder and put in jail. In short, it was a double homicide. The newspapers named him the Big Bad Wolf. The wolf insists to this day that he had just had a bad cold and didn't want the pork to go to waste. The end. Now, you try filling out a plot diagram with your friends. Bye-bye, children.
Bye,
teacher. Who turned off the lights?
Yeah, who turned off the lights?